The mayors of Canada's largest cities were in Ottawa this week, demanding the Trudeau government include them in the upcoming federal budget. In particular, the mayors want more money for infrastructure, which they say is needed to respond to record growth and challenges presented by homelessness, affordability, and climate change. Well, joining us now is the Mayor of Toronto, also former NDP MP Olivia Chow. Mayor Chow, nice to see you.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. Listen, you're in Ottawa after months of battling with the government, essentially asking for more money. You've now going to get nearly $1 billion to build new housing, hundreds of $millions to offset the cost of housing support for asylum seekers as well. With those wins, do you think you're now being heard by Ottawa?
Well, I'm here, not just by myself, but with the mayors, Big City Mayor Caucus, which is all across Canada. We gathered and united in one voice. We have a fiscal problem. The existing tax structure is broken. It's not working. It needs fixing. It needs an update. It needs a reset. So I'm hearing words like, our city's under siege, in crisis, heavy-duty words, whether it's because of housing crisis, homelessness, encampment, asylum seekers, aging infrastructure, not being able to pay for it all. And so in one voice, these cash-strapped mayor, myself being one of them, are saying to the federal government that we need extra investments, permanent, reliable funding. Let me jump in there, because I've heard this before, but what is it? Was it purely the pandemic that put municipalities, including Toronto, so far behind that you can't ignore it anymore? What exactly has created this crisis? Because we seem to be hearing from cities, Toronto included, far more loudly now than we ever have before. Yeah, actually it comes in waves. I'm not the first mayor from Toronto, not the first mayor across Canada. Almost every mayor since 80s, 90s especially, in the 2000s, have been saying that this fiscal arrangement just doesn't work, it's broken. And then it gets fixed a bit. There was a gas tax transfer, and then there was a discussion about 1 cent solution, which is returning the GST assent of it back to the local government. That didn't work. And so it's ebb and flow. But right now, I think the crisis became a lot more stark because of combination. Number one, COVID. So like in the city of Toronto, we don't have the riders as many in the public transit, so we have to subsidize more. We have a huge housing crisis, which is 3 decades in the shaping, because the government have not built housing. So what's happening is that people are paying so much rent, they have to, by the end of the month or even midway, have to go to the food bank. 1 out of 10.
Because that's how expensive housing is now.
That's right. So I think between the housing crisis, aging infrastructure, and the COVID, and a huge number of asylum seekers coming into Canada in the last 6 months, 9 months, and that just compound all the problems. So everybody going, we need help.
Well, it's interesting. I was in Toronto last year, helping moderate the Public Policy Forum. And one of the things that was raised was while they were applauding Ottawa's initiative to increase the number of immigrants being welcomed into this country, they were already sounding an alarm because they were concerned that Canada would not be ready to welcome and make sure these citizens, or these new Canadians would actually be accommodated and supported well once they got here. It made me wonder, is Ottawa doing enough consultation? As they pursue these types of policies on the federal level, are they consulting enough with city mayors to make sure that there's not a negative impact, not only to Canadians that are already here, but the people they're welcoming to the country?
We want more immigrants. In order for Canada to grow, we need more people living in Canada. Every report you've seen said the same thing. So immigration is not the problem. Asylum seekers is not the problem. It's the problem is that we have a housing crisis that was 30 years in the making. Because in mid-90s, The federal government, then the provincial government said, oh, it's not up to us to build anything. It's not our responsibility. And guess what? Every other country in the world have been building housing. Singapore, one state government building. And as a result, the housing cost is not so high that if the government build housing and control the rent so that it's not so high because there's more supply, then people have more money at the end of the month to go and shop, to go and go out to the restaurant. It's the growth of the middle class. Right now in Canada, the middle class are being squeezed. Whether it's more the mortgage payment because of inflation, now that makes it worse, right? Or the rent being so high, there's just nothing left. They can't afford anything else. So that's the crisis. So what we are saying through the Big City Mayor Caucus is that we need to fix the problem. We need, in the long term, right, the fiscal arrangements needs to be fixed, need a reset. But immediately, not only do we need money for housing, we need money for transit infrastructure. Because if you just build housing and not the community center and the libraries and the transit around it, then you don't have complete communities, right? It would just be concrete blocks.
Well, you did strike a deal with the province of Ontario, and part of that financial deal, though, is investments in housing and transit predicated that Ottawa will also step up and meet that. Has Ottawa met that? Are you worried about the durability of that agreement perhaps falling apart?
Yes, I am worried about that. We got the housing shelter piece unlocked because the federal minister of finance joined us to say, yes, we'll come to the table and assist in sheltering, the cost of sheltering refugees claimants. Great. That unlocked the money from the province. The province also made them another condition. You desperately need money for public transit because your subway cars on Bloor Line, which is Line 2,
which traverses the city for people who don't know Toronto.
Absolutely. Millions of people ride it, right? That if the cars are old, the lifespan is coming up. It's ending. Lifespan is ending, which means we have to order it now. And the provincial government said, we'll give you the $750 million you need, only if the federal government comes on. I said, whoa. We'll put in our share, province will put in a share, now the feds needs to put in a share. So will we get that? I don't know. It depends, again, on the budget coming out soon, I think.
I'm wondering, is there something Toronto as a city can do that your government can do to cut back costs as opposed to turning to Ottawa to cover a cost?
Great question. Yes, we can. And we cut more than $600 million, $620 million, that's almost more than $500 million in our last budget. And yet it's still not enough. You saw the police saying, wait a second, you can't cut us. Well, we didn't. We didn't give them as much money as they wanted. We finally did. And we are, like snow removal and all that, we have to deliver these services. The irony is this. Of all the tax you pay, only 9% come to municipalities. The rest of it, we're about to host the World Cup, right? Coming. And the national men's team, the first match, we're going to broadcast in June of 2026. The world will be in Toronto. The eyes will be in Toronto. Huge amount of economic benefits. We won't get any of it because we don't get the sales tax or any of that, right? So, which is why we need to reorganize the tax system. So hopefully, the federal government would agree into a dialogue, reviewing what can be fixed, and number two, immediately provide some kind of funding. Housing, infrastructure, whatever it might be, permanently, annually, so that we don't have to not build the housing we want to build. And that part of it is, for example, transit.
Yeah, this is quickly running out of time, but we keep going back to this idea of stable funding. So what are you looking for here? A percentage of GST, a specific municipal tax that goes to cities like yours? What is the solution here, do you think?
That's up for conversation with the federal government. I don't think it'll be an easy fix, because this problem have been around for a little while. So hopefully there will be a commitment to have a conversation. It could be part income tax. It could be returning 1 cent of the GST. Right now is 5 cents that the federal government take. Returning 1 cent of it to the local municipalities, to the local people for all the services that they get. So it could be any of it, but that's a conversation in the longer term. But we need to start.
Okay. Well, I appreciate us having a conversation today. Olivia Chow, thank you for the time.
Thank you.